All right, welcome back. We are with Mr. David Theriot, Mr. Jacque Blanchard, who have been honored and rewarded for their many years of medical expertise, and they've worked their way up the ranks. And the Cardiovascular Institute of the South is proud to announce that David Theriot, nurse practitioner, and Jacque Blanchard, cath lab director, have been named 2017 HealthCare Heroes by New Orleans City Business, placing them among the top 50 medical professionals in the greater New Orleans area. All right, let me ask you this. Before we get to the humps you have to get over and the serious stuff, you guys like to have a good time. There's got to be funny moments in any job when you're sitting there and you just had a big case and it's going successful and everybody's just been so wound up that you go, "Whew, that was funny." So is there a lot of camaraderie, a lot of cutting up sometimes?
Absolutely. Never laughed so hard in all my life as in the cath lab between cases, sometimes during a case. I mean, you just have to take those moments to sort of let it all hang out, and we have some fun. I mean, you know, traditionally we have some young guys back there, so they know how to clown around when it's time. I always tell them, you know, there's a time for business and a time for fun, and I try not to limit the amount of fun we have, because you can't stay wound tight all day. You have to kind of relax, and we do have fun both inside and outside of work.
Now, David, without giving names, not for patients, for doctors, David's going to get the tough question.
There you go.
When you see certain doctors and you know how certain doctors handle things, or if they're going to be straight-laced, or some of them, I remember filming, you know, before, when we did the early days of the Terrebonne General show, and we went into the cath lab and filmed open heart surgeries, and we had doctors that wanted to listen to country music. Some doctors didn't want any music. They wanted to concentrate. So every doctor is different. Your job to know those doctors and what makes them tick, huh?
Yeah, that's part of the challenge. You know, when we hire a new nurse practitioner, is not only teach them cardiology, but teach them the cardiologist, because yeah, there's different expectations, and some, you know, maybe more focused on certain things than others, but in the end, you know, everybody's focused on the better outcome for the patient. So that's one good thing about being around for a long time, is I can pretty much tell you, you know, what each cardiologist expects, and when I call them to discuss a patient, you know, I know how they want to receive that information, and so everybody's a little bit different, but it makes the job interesting.
And they each have a great sense of humor, each one of our cardiologists, and they don't mind. They enjoy us sort of, you know, lightening up their day. And after they had a tough case or whatever, and then they walk out, they like for us to kind of make them laugh and kind of bring them back down a little bit.
Because after all, what we're dealing with here is some very, very serious maneuvers with technology that were unheard of 20, 25 years ago, and they've come onto the scene. So it's really an expanding field, but I guess the mindset is, when you are doing these procedures, and I watch you all when they're happening, no margin for error. It is everybody is locked in. It's like driving a space shuttle. Might be a crew of 5, but if one of them screws up, the team screws up. So when y'all are locked in, those moments are pretty intense. So I can imagine once it's over, you're going like, whew. Yeah.
You absolutely have to let your hair down in between cases, and you know, as you described, those situations can be extremely stressful, and everybody has to have laser focus, and that's why it's important to keep a team together for a time, because you don't have to anticipate. Everybody anticipates what each other is going to do in those situations. You don't have to talk about it or coach anybody. It just happens. Yeah. And so when those moments are over, yeah, you gotta kind of relax a little bit.
What's it like for both of you guys when you see that balloon or that catheter or that procedure going up the vein or the artery, and all of a sudden, we've run into a snag here. This one's a little tougher to get through, and you're working, and finally you get it to release? Is there a, I guess, a palatable moment where everybody goes, woo, or is it more internally where everybody's thinking it, but they just don't, they say it?
I think both. Some of our team members kind of quiet, but some of them, even the ones that you wouldn't expect, let out that loud woo, because it's, you know, it's tight for a second, and when they can finally relax and things go well, you got to let it out, and yeah, it's we get loud sometimes.
Yeah. What's it like, David, seeing those patients come back that you knew they had a tough road, but all of a sudden they're doing pretty good because of things that y'all were able to perform on them? Yeah.
So along those lines, a lot of patients that get sent to Terrebonne General are patients that are already complicated to begin with. They may be coming from other centers. So when you're talking about a procedure like that is right on the edge, Jacque's team and our cardiologists, you know, they take on some of the toughest cases. In fact, some of the cases that get sent here, the patients have been denied other places, and they're coming here as their last chance.
But that's a little unfair to you guys, because when they send them down, they automatically are placed in another category where the failure rate in those other institutions would be high. They send them to you guys, but I was reading something the other day about your success rate is still out the roof. So obviously, y'all are fairly advanced when it comes to other institutions and what they perform in.
Like you said, we take on the sickest of the sick, procedures that have been failed at other places or not even attempted at other places. And like you described, our numbers are still great, and we you know, I'm very proud of that. Very proud of the work we do and the team we have.
How do y'all both stay locked into the community? I know, once again, I've interviewed many people that are so entrenched in what they do that they forget that outside those doors of that cath lab or the offices, especially in your place, not a lot of windows most of the time in the hospital. When you get in the cath lab, you're surrounded by, you know, brick walls and all, so you sort of you're in the spaceship right there. But there's another world outside. Y'all do a good job of staying involved in the community, and I know that goes through marketing and everything else. They purposely get y'all out to talk to Rotaries and different organizations. That's got to be fun to get out.
CIS and Terrebonne General are intimately involved in the community and keep us involved and keep us out there, and it's good to know your neighbors and your friends. And you know, you talked about my breakfast club that I have on Saturday morning. That's how I unwind from a long week. Go have coffee with my buddies and run into guys like you at the coffee shop and just get to know people in my community and stay. You know, everybody always teases me, you know everybody. Well, I try to make it a point to know everybody. It's my town. This is where I grew up. You know.
Let me ask you this on a different term. Where would this area be, and all the other places with the CIS clinics be without CIS, if it was never founded at all?
For one thing, they'd be going to New Orleans and other places every time they needed health care or cardiovascular care. And economically, you know, especially right now with the downturn in the oil field, it would look pretty bad around here, I would think, you know. And the health care is a huge economic driver now. And you know, it affords us all a nice quality of life, and you know, it's been good for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
David Kinner has a presentation. One of his first slides is he shows the Dartmouth study that showed the mortality of cardiovascular disease in our area before CIS came. Louisiana was #1, and out of all Louisiana, Terrebonne Parish was #1. So Terrebonne Parish had the highest cardiovascular mortality in the whole country before CIS came here. And now it's equal, you know, with some of the better places. Yeah. So we have a very high incidence of heart disease in our area, but people don't die from it as commonly as they used to. Houma would be a totally different place if Dr. Walker hadn't come back here.
You know, and I think about that often. I don't think he gets enough credit for the magnitude of his foresight. And there's always jealousy in every field, but when you really break down what he's done in this arena and competing with giants in the community, people who had lobbying money and all. I remember the early days. He's going up and he's getting on seminars and speaking, and it went from, who's this guy, to, oh, he's back, to, wow, to unbelievable, to giants in what they do. That's a transition that you can't always, measure, but seeing, watching y'all for all those years, y'all have done a tremendous job. And just the fact, what hit me most about this award, and we'll wrap up in this last segment, this wasn't just Houma that y'all were recognized in. This is the Orleans area where you're going up against a lot of people. So obviously, they've seen the impact also. I'm going to congratulate y'all for coming on. Jacque, congratulations. David, congratulations.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you with your coffee club after they've seen you on your interview.
That ought to be fun.
Your big mom. And y'all keep up the great work. And I want to thank Bevy for helping us out with this show. And once again, congratulations on a job well done. And we'll take a short break. When we come back, more right here on Bayou Time in a short moment.